Hey kids, Mr. Glenn here. Hope you are well. So we are having a look at Makecode Arcade today, and this is a little introduction. Mostly because some of us are fresh to this and some of us are new to it as well. But some of us have done it before, and we've played and made our games in here. So some of us will have gone into the beginner skill map, which is just there at the end. You can see that I'm just tapping on it. It's put the orange banner around it. There are some things that we must know before we go ahead and use this. And they are how we connect our Meow bits later on to play the games, as well as just simple things like when you sign in here, you've got to sign in with your Microsoft account. Here you can see you've got my school face, and you can see it's both here and in Edge as well. And I'm using Edge because it kind of remembers you with a school Microsoft account. It just makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to. You can use Chrome, you can use Brave, you can use anything you want. But I'm just using this so it remembers me. And the reason it has to remember you with Microsoft is that it uses cloud saves. So in your projects here, when you go to view all, you can see that you will see every single project that you've made, okay? As you go down here, there's loads for us to explore when we go to create our own games. Because when you go to create your own game, you can go and find a game and you can make it however you want. You know, you can use these games here, look, game design concepts, okay? So we're gonna have a look at these in a second. All right, so concepts are how your game is going to work and what kind of game you actually want. Do you want a story? Do you want an adventure? Do you want an RPG? Do you want a tappy game? Do you want what's called a Twitch game, like Super Hexagon, one of my favourite games there is? Or do you want one where it tells a story, and it may be like Papers, Please, for example, where it's one of the first games, is one of the only games where I felt guilty about not making the game any good while I'm playing it, okay? So what we're going to do first is go and have a look at a new project. I'm going to go and give it my first game. And then what we're going to do is just hit create. And we're going to have a look around the page, okay? Because there are some things that we're going to have to use later on beyond sort of pictures and backgrounds and stuff like that. So if I open up the whole page, you've got this with a little menu on the you got a little menu, so when you tap on those little arrows just next to the variables there's a little triangle. Now inside your console, so this blue console here with the buttons underneath, you have 7 buttons underneath. So if I go to full screen here and look at the console itself, your game will play here. And when you play the game, you've got an option to have 2 players to play, and you can make a multiplayer game. So you can make an online battle with somebody else, so they can have the keys that you set for them, and they can play against you, okay, which is nice for the game that we're going to make later on, which is called Pong. So you've got your sound on here, so I've got my sound turned on and off, okay. You've got a refresh button at the top. You can see I'm just hitting at the top, and you've got your menu. So your menu here, you can just go in your sound on, your sound off, okay. So when I do this, you'll see that I've got my sound on and off. And then you've got all bits and pieces in here that you can go and test. You've also got a debug, okay? So this is, if you've got an error in your code, it will go through your code and it will work out what's going on with your code, all right, if it's wrong. In the middle, you've got all your blocks that you put together. Okay, and this is when you go and set your sprite to be a particular thing. So whether it's a player, whether it's a projectile, whether it's food, enemy, or whether you're going to make your own style of sprite, okay? And then inside these sprites, we're going to name them and stuff like that, okay? If you want to get rid of it, put it into the center and bin it. So then you've got controllers for both your players, game, and then it goes all the way through to these variables and loops, and if you want things to happen forever, if you want only things to happen if it hits another sprite, or when it jumps up and down or lands on a platform. If you're making like a Mario game where it goes jumps from platform to platform, okay, you're going to need sort of when these things occur, so when these things happen. So if if it lands on a bad guy or a ball or a black block or falls in a hole, what do you want it to happen? What do you want music or things like that? Do you want sound to occur? Okay. So you can create music for your games. You can create sounds. You can create all kinds of things in there, and then obviously you can go and set your background to be certain things, and you can even draw your own bits and pieces in here. So when you go and tap on this grey block here, it brings you into the editor, and this editor has all kinds of things that you can use, and you've got to give it names. So this, when you give this a test down here, this is my test bed. And then when my game starts and I hit play, the console will play whatever's in there. So it'll play whatever you've told it to produce in here. Okay, same with your sprites. So if you set your sprite to be certain things, let's go into here, let's go and get some pizza. And so your player then will be in the middle of the game, okay? And then it's ready to be controlled. So you have variables which are very important, particularly if you want scores, you want things to happen, if you want different levels, and if your player gets to a certain level, it's got to raise the score, and your score needs to be a variable, because your score can go up and down. Variable just means a variety of things. Then you've got extensions. Inside extensions, we will possibly be using maybe sounds or things like that in here, or timers or things like that, but we can look at those later. Advanced functions are very important because when you want to call something up at the beginning, you want to make your code nice and tidy. So if you've got a character called, let's call it character, or Charlie would be fine. So when it calls Charlie at the beginning of the game, you want Charlie to be something. So on start, when your game starts, you want your game to call Charlie, and what do you want Charlie to be looking like, doing, appearing? What do you want Charlie to be doing? So Charlie could be anything, could be a ball, could be a cat, could be a bad guy. And so when you call this character, it will only call that character. Let's say when you get 10 points, 5 coins, whatever, it will only call it at that time. It also makes your code very nice and neat, because you don't want masses and masses and masses and masses of blocks like this, because you're going to make mistakes. So then if we look around here, we've got a share, which means we can go and share our project. It means we can go and embed our project. So in here we can go and embed the code. You then get a QR code. You can go and change whether you want the editor or you want someone to play the game online. You can go and play the game on our Google Sites or something like that. Then you've got your usual blocks. You can share it in Teams. You've got Team Friends or Classroom or things like that. So you can go and share it that way. If we look at the bottom, okay, if we look at the bottom of the screen here, we have choosing our hardware. And this is important when we come to play our game later on, because we're not going to play it just online in the editor, in this editor. We're going to go and play it on our Meow bit. So you need to tell Arcade Makecode that it is going to play on a Meow bit, and that will also set your screen size and things like that. And then you can go and download to the device. You can also download it as a file, and it will download the file, and you can download it to however you want. But you can also connect your hardware. So once you choose your hardware, you can connect, and it tells you the steps what to do there. You can zoom in and zoom out on the side, and then you can also save it to GitHub. You will probably have a GitHub account with your Pattern email. That means you can go and share your code directly later on, and you can do some cool things with it there on GitHub. If you want to explore Python, you can see what Python looks like, or JavaScript. And then in assets, we've got our editors. Inside the gallery, there are tons and tons and tons and tons of pre-made characters and animations. Okay, so your characters can animate, and you can create them to animate, which is very nice. So when your characters are actually walking, you can get them to do things like that. So you can go and create your assets. So things like tiles. Tiles are blocks where your character is going to be walking or walking into or walking on. They're generally things that are in the game that your character is going to interact with. A tile map here. A whole tile map is where you go and create a whole level. Okay, so at the top here you can see where it says show walls. So what you want to do is show the wall so you know where your character is going to be landing on. So when you put the walls down, you create a wall. Okay, when you create a wall, it means that you can, this is where your character is going to stand on. So this is now red and this one is now green. Your character is going to fall through this one, but not fall through this one. Okay, and then you can see at the top left-hand corner, it shows you what the whole map and the level actually looks like. In the bottom left-hand corner, you've got some numbers. Okay, these are your widths and heights. So it's going to see this is 160 wide by 140 high, I think is the screen size. Let's go hit that, done. Let's go back into our tile map, edit our tile map. And so here you can see what I drew here. So if I go and get my wall, it's going to get some bushes. Now you can see how small it is, and you can see that these levels are where my character is actually going to jump and actually walk around. So when I put the walls in, for example, this is where my character can actually land on. So it makes it pretty simple for us to make these games completely. Okay, so I'm going to go and delete that because I don't want that, and I don't want that. Oops, I don't want this. It's going to delete it. Yes, I am. Now, when you have your colours in the middle too, your colours are preset. So you can have your arcade colours. You've got preset 8-bit or 16-bit character colours. In there, you can go and choose what you want. So if you want adventure, it'll preset the palette for you. So when you go and draw and create something like an image, you can see that the colour palette on the left-hand side has changed now. And so we've got these really nice colours that match the adventure style. So I'm going to go and delete this one. I don't want that either. Lastly is possibly this. So if you want to change the language, of course, you want it into your home language, you can do that. And that's about it. Right, that's it to have a look around. So go back to the house, and then your game is there, and it says my first game. Great. I think we're ready to go and rock and roll and try our own games. So, peeps, as always, good luck.